this documentary is about the Tony Bosch scandal that got ARod a year's suspension. Manny Ramirez got popped and Melky Cabrera got popped. Why did you make this documentary, Billy?
Actually, in November of 2013, we were pitched by Alex Rodriguez.
Okay. So this... You're laughing already at that.
Wait, what?
Okay, because again, this documentary is not very... what's the word for... it's not very complimentary to Alex Rodriguez.
I'm not getting an invitation to the wedding, if that's what you mean.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's also extremely accurate. It's all very true. It's all exactly how it happened.
Well, I mean, the stories are being told by Tony Bosch, or Dr. Tony Bosch,
well,
as he referred to himself.
Air quotes.
In quotes, who was the one who was at the center of all of this, and his dad was the one who was writing the prescriptions for these drugs. And also the fella Porter Fisher, who was the one who leaked the documents.
The whistleblower.
The whistleblower, if you will.
Yeah.
And these guys are telling the story from their own first person, and your unique way in which you have them tell their stories we'll get to in a second. But this is absolutely straight from the horse's mouths that we're seeing right here.
Yeah, all first person.
Why did Alex Rodriguez pitch you this idea?
So in November of 2013, he was in the midst of the arbitration with MLB. He was the only one of the players involved in the biogenesis scandal that appealed his suspension. I guess why not? What do you have to lose? It was the longest suspension in the history of the game.
211 games.
Yeah, he went for it. And so he took a break from that arbitration and came down to his office in Coral Gables, in very affluent suburb of Miami, where the University of Miami is actually located. Alex Rodriguez Field is located. And his publicist hit me up and said, Alex would like to meet with you to discuss the possibility of doing a tell-all documentary. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll take that meeting.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to do it real hush-hush and quiet at his office. And it turns out they wanted to meet us on a weekday at high noon at the most popular restaurant in town, like the power lunch spot of Coral Gables, which is like 2 miles from UM, which if anywhere I'm going to get recognized because of the U documentaries, it's going to be
at this place.
That proximity to UM. Yeah. And so it was very clear that my producing partner, Alfred Spellman, and I attended that event as like pawns in Alex's kind of PR offensive against MLB at the time. You remember it was like they were in a battle of the legacies, Bud Selig and Alex.
Well, yeah, there was a whole story about how the protesters outside were actually paid for by Alex Rodriguez. I don't know if that was ever
absolutely it's
documented.
All true.
Okay,
yeah.
So. Yeah, and it was ugly. There was no other way to describe it.
You know what it is? I think Major League Baseball has become like, I think everything else in American life, including politics. It's the WWE, you know, and back when Bud Selig, the steroid commissioner, was on his way out the door on the eve of his retirement, was kind of like, well, maybe I should do something about this now that this scandal has erupted in 2013. He talks to his second command, Rob Manfred, and says, let's look like we're doing something about this. So they come down to Miami, have this farcical investigation that involves the MLB investigators. They have like this internal FBI of like former cops. They sleep with a former nurse of Tony Bosch at one of his clinics. They're paying people off. They've got a slush fund of $125,000 that they're buying stolen medical records in a diner from a convicted felon. The whole thing is just utterly absurd. And then they nail Alex, because what bigger scalp could you get than Alex Rodriguez? And then Bud retires, Rob Manfred takes over, and he goes, well, what's the storyline now? What better than to make a heel a hero and bring back not only ARod, but Charlie Hustle, to the game to become commentators, and Pete Rose, and who's not there anymore, of course, but and it worked. I mean, it's a bottom line company, and it's a brilliant storyline.
Now, are you saying Major League Baseball has orchestrated what used to be 2/5 of the people on the set of Fox Baseball? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it's awfully convenient and it's awfully brilliant. I think Alex is spectacularly good at that job. I don't knock his hustle at all. He's, and so he's earned that position. He's certainly lightened up. He's a lot funnier, a lot more self-effacing. Certainly more so than the guy I met for lunch in November of 2013, who was in, a battle for his life, his legacy, his career, his livelihood, and who spent an hour and a half just lying right to our faces about everything, ever meeting Tony Bosch, ever cheating or using performance-enhancing drugs at that stage of his career. It was a pretty wild meeting, and needless to say, after that, we didn't hear back much from them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Billy Corben, the director of Screwball, about the biogenesis scandal, again in theaters Friday and then numerous streaming platforms the following Friday after that. How did the meeting with ARod finish up? I mean, what happened?
With just more lies, basically. And so we walked away. I thought he was a fascinating guy, really a fragile guy, a sensitive guy. At the time, not much of a sense of humor or any sense of self-awareness. But I thought, what a compelling character to be able to examine, to interview. And I emailed them for the next 6, 7, 8 months. The arbitration resolved in January of 2014. He got a sentence reduction, if you will, but still, I think, a season-long suspension. And so by the middle of 2014, it seemed obvious that they were not really interested in participating in an interview or a documentary. And why not? The strategy has paid off. This whole kind of head in the sand, ignored and it'll go away strategy has certainly worked for them. I think it's one of the most remarkable image rehabilitations in the history of public relations.
Well, it's not just that, though. I mean, he did come out, and when he did show back up with the Yankees, he came out and threw himself basically on the sword. I mean, he did come out and give a complete total mea culpa. He went and made fun of himself on the stage at the ESPYs. I mean, he has had, as you pointed out, you said no sense of humor about himself or anything like that. He has seemed to take a total reverse pivot on how he has portrayed himself or how he has taken on what he did.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
so,
I wouldn't.
Who? Okay, you seem to be taking.
I wouldn't say he did much of a mea culpa tour. He didn't really acknowledge what he did or didn't do, what he lied about. The other players like Ryan Braun that he threw under the bus, that his camp deliberately leaked in order to take some of the attention away from him in the thick of the scandal. I don't think he really fessed up to it. I don't think that he has to. I mean, obviously he doesn't have to. But I'm just saying, I don't think he really did any kind of comprehensive apology or discussion about, I think, how profoundly disappointing it was for legions of young kids who look up to these athletes as heroes and role models.
So then somebody who did speak with him when he was at a low point, and then, as you point out, you think you were used as a prop or used in a certain way.
Incidentally, I'm totally cool with that. They spelled my name right in page 6. It was in bold. I don't have the juice to make that happen. No. Thank you, Alex. Thank you to his publicist.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.